Hello and welcome to Geeks Assembled. This small little group here today will be discussing the very first episode of a TV detective series from America. There you are, Susan's got it there, Monk. And the episode is Mr. Monk and the Candidate. And I'll tell you now, I have never ever watched any of these before. This is the first time I have ventured into the world of Monk. So I will let you know what I think of it after these guys have had their say. So, Beef Dad, what's your opening thoughts on this episode and the show?
Well, in the day, I used to quite enjoy Monk. I mean, he's a bit psycho. He's got OCD, but I mean, half of his problem is he went a little mental after the murder of his wife, and because of the state that he went into, he was ejected from the police force, which he was originally a detective in. But he's also a very good detective, and once in a while he's invited in to help. Yeah, he's got lots of mental problems, lots of things, not just the OCD, but he's also got fears of many things. He's terrified of germs and that sort of thing. Tony Shalhoub does him brilliantly. He really does do him so very well. And he's got Bitty Schramm plays Sharona, who is his assistant, shall we say, and she looks after him, and she's very, very good, and she gets involved with all the police work as well. And this story it's a very clever story. Everybody thinks that it's an attempted assassination of the mayoral candidate, but it's not actually. It's actually the murder of his bodyguard. And it is done so very cleverly. And of course, one of the other candidates is behind it all. And it is very, very cleverly done, and in places just so much fun. The bit in the sewers is just absolutely brilliant. I absolutely loved that. It's just, the Monk was just really, really very, very clever all the way through, and you've got, rather than having sort of Sherlock Holmes or something like that, who's really, he's brilliantly sharp, but he has all his mental problems, which makes it difficult for him to cope. And that it's just so very, very good and so very, very cleverly done. And it's very well written. All the Monk episodes that I've seen were very, very well written. And as I say, he always runs in this brilliant performance. So that's me for the start.
Thanks for that. We'll move over to Susan and Alex.
All right. Well, I wasn't aware of this show before I moved here to be with Alex, and Alex was he had a few of these episodes on DVD, and he enjoyed them, and then I went to a closing out sale of an old video store, because I mean, they are all closing out at this point. Like, there aren't very many left in the world. But this one was up the coast a bit, and I tell you the truth, I saw all these episodes, and I'm like, I recognize that. Alex has a few of those. So I bought the rest of the series. I bought all the rest of the seasons, and everything, all the other episodes. And that started a binge. I mean, we ended up binging them. And I love Monk. I think he's so cool. First of all, it takes place in the city that I love. I love San Francisco. My sister lives there. My nephews live there. I've gone to Comic-Con there. I met Jenna Coleman there. I met Ian McDermott there. It's a pretty brilliant place, actually, all told, one could say. And it needs protecting. I mean, that's where the Seventh Doctor got shot. I mean, San Francisco is just a really crazy place to be. And I used to party there, and then when I moved to Reading, 4 hours north of there, I would come down to the city all the time to visit my family, and it was just really fun. They've got good coffee and good bars and good restaurants, and it's a really cool city. I really love it there. It's got the coolest Russian Orthodox cathedral ever. I mean, they've got an actual saint in there. He's pretty amazing. Anyway, the city of San Francisco will blow your mind every time. You could leave your heart there. You could leave your shoes there. You could, I mean, if you're down on the hate, you could leave your reality box there. You could really, I mean, that's where the hippies were, and they're still there. They're still there. It's so cool. Anyway, yeah, go to Golden Gate Park, land your stolen Klingon ship there. It's just a really cool place to be. Anyway, so I enjoy this. I enjoy Monk a lot. Tony Shalhoub was brilliant. The first time I saw him was in Galaxy Quest, and this is like, the second time I've seen him, and he's a class act. He's a good actor. Anyway, super fun TV show. And this one was really clever, just like Beef Dad said. Very clever. Anyway, here's Alex.
Yeah, I do like the show. I remember when it first came out, and a lot of people were criticizing it even before the third episode aired about how they were making fun of his obsessive compulsive disorder and his fears and his phobias and all that. I mean, it does match with the character, and they had to do something else to spice it up because, let's be honest, there's a billion cop shows, and they all go for 9 years now, unless they're really bad. And it was, it went on for 8 series or 8 seasons. Yep. There's some things that I don't like about it, but again, he wasn't necessarily Sherlock Holmes. That's kind of an easy. He was analytical, but he also had a little bit of the autistic as well. Because I remember that a lot of people wanted to pull the show; they wanted it gone even before it went on for 2 years. He was a little bit, because they had a few episodes where he was a kid, and he was still similar to the character that you see. He was a little wilder, and as a cop, he was a little wilder as well. I mean, it's kind of funny because, as with most famous series, it sort of jumps around, and I guess him and Leland, the captain, have known each other off and on for, decades. And Stottlemyre. And he also, funny enough, he almost played the same character in the movie Heat. And he's pretty much played the same character through his career. The story is very good. The solution they come up with is good. he's not Sherlock Holmes, but he's close to it, and he is analytical, and he does see details that nobody else sees, and that's why Monk is the detective that he is. And if you watch other episodes, they've had a lot of famous people on there, Willie Nelson, and they've had other people on there as well, admitting also to the marijuana as well. And they've had other famous actors, and they also had uh, the same producers as the new versions of Knight Rider and NBC's Las Vegas, and it is owned by the same company, Universal, otherwise known as Comcast. But it is a good show. I didn't read many of the books. In the books, they cover more. In the books, everybody gets blackmailed. Everybody gets threatened with blackmail, including the cops. They had Dale the Whale. They had 2 or 3 different versions in the TV show, including the first one with Tim Curry as Dale the Whale in the huge, huge fat suit. So in some ways, the show was very good. In some ways, it wasn't. But you could say that about every TV show. I prefer the first 4 years and the last year, and the other 2 I can kind of skip. They also had Snoop Dogg doing a rap version of the theme song, talking, and the theme song basically says, it's dangerous, it's a jungle out there, you're not watching carefully, etc., etc.
Oh,
They had the original. They had the original version that was just instrumental, and then they had the Randy Newman version, which I pretty much stuck with. Even though I know there's a lot of people that aren't fans of Randy Newman, and his sort of half jazzy, half talky singing. But he was in Toy Story and other things. So yeah, it is a very good episode. I do like the series. I prefer the first 4 seasons and then the last one with a few episodes. It's very popular here. Tony Shalhoub has always been a very good actor. He's always been a very good character actor. He was in Wings. He's in that new Amazon series, the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, as a Jewish character. I don't know if he really is in real life. I know he's partially Lebanese, which is interesting. But he's been around a long time. It was good that he got his own show. Sometimes the character got on my nerves, but then again, you could say that about any character. And that was part of the thrill, too, was that he was able, just like Columbo, there was a few stories where you almost thought he made a mistake or you almost thought he accused somebody, unjustly, and he was able to figure it out. So, in a way, Monk does owe a lot to Columbo, in the same sort of style that, you meet the villain seems nice. He's not really, but he seems nice. So, in a way, they're ripping it off. But then again, a cop show rips off a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that candidate's bodyguard, like Beef Dad was saying, he seems so nice. You nailed that. So that's
Right.
us.
Now it's
Yeah. Okay.
cool. So to me, as I said, I've never ever seen them before. This is the very first time. So I really did enjoy this. I always come to these shows too late, don't I? Yes, I love the portrayal. I love all this and everything like that. After I watched it, I did my homework to see what the show was about. They was going to make their sort of version of Inspector Clouseau, apparently. All the mishaps he does and stuff like that. So going back to the episode, yes, I can see that with all the funny things what happened to him. But that always brings back. It's always brought on by his phobias or anything like that, which is quite good. I don't care. I don't care if he's got OCD or anything like that. As long as the story's good, as long as some things make you laugh, it's a good story told, acted well, and I'm going to have to binge watch these now. after this one episode, I'm going to have to binge watch them. So yes, I may have to go online and find some cheap DVD sets. Yeah. Oh, and Susan, I think of your list of fantastic San Francisco things. You missed out. I think you missed out Carl Malden and wearing flowers in their hair.
Yeah, that Manchester song is true.
Yeah, Carl.
If you should go to San Francisco, be sure to wear some flowers in your hair. That song was written in Manchester, England, and yeah, but I didn't forget that. It's you know, the hippies are still there. You still wear flowers in your hair. You still go sit in on the hillside in the Golden Gate Park and play your drums and, you know, jam out. And that's where a lot of free shows have been held. Free shows by the Grateful Dead. You know, one of my all-time favorites of all time musical acts, you know, just fantastic band. And that's where they did their free shows. But I didn't forget Carl Malden. The streets of San Francisco are safe because of him.
Oh, don't forget Michael Douglas was in that too.
And a lot of other Bullet was there. I know.
Yeah, I know. The movie Bullet was there.
Oh, yes.
There was
Yeah.
a lot of them.
No, the Streets of San Francisco is another classic. I don't know. Was the Mob Squad in San Francisco as well, or no? We don't know. But yeah, I mean, as we know, most of the TV shows were either in California or New York. And there's
San
not.
Francisco is its own little.
I know, but I'm saying that unfortunately, there's not too many other TV shows that aren't really, you know, separate from the stereotype of either California or New York. Apparently, the rest of the world doesn't exist, except for Sherlock Holmes. You know, if you believe it. Not that I do. But yeah, like I said, unfortunately, Sharona, the character Sharona, the actress left for a contract dispute, and she was also in that famous movie with Tom Hanks, The League of Their Own, the baseball movie. So she's been in a couple of famous items. She did come back in season 8, series 8, with Natalie, who was her replacement. But yeah, I guess they were. There was talk about ending the show or ending the episodes, and I guess that's where in series 8 they kind of tie it up. And spoiler alert: even though he does get back to being a police officer, he quits and goes back to being a private consultant. No, but it's been around for a long time.
All right.
And the end of the show, at the end of the series, he's still doing the same thing with Stottlemyre. So I don't know if they're around for 25 years solving crimes or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, while you've both got your open mics, any favourite moments or dislikes?
I like the sitting there in the City Hall Park, you know, right in front of the bandstand, trying to figure it out. I thought that was cool, and I love the emotion of the part in the parking the parking structure, the parking garage, where his wife had been car bombed. I mean, like, that was really sweet. It was a really good emotional moment. Here's Alex.
Well, like I said, you know, I think they originally only intended to do 3 to 4 years, and and it is good that they set up most of the characters. So it is a very good pilot that you can see, you know, how many of the characters, the captain, his, you know, deputy, Sharona, like I said, she left, and they replaced her with Natalie, who was a little bit more suburban and a little bit more a little bit more. She came from a rich family, whereas Sharona did not. And they had a few episodes. So if you watch enough episodes or if you do enough research, they eventually explain all the characters. But this is a good, except for Natalie, this is a good foundation as to what the characters are. And Monk does face his fears. And they also changed the psychiatrist as well because the original actor had died. So basically, in the fourth series or season, they have to change a lot of the characters and they have to change a little bit of the settings because I think they originally wanted to go 4 to 6 years and then end it. And people have tried to talk to him about coming back, and he doesn't want to do it. I think he knows that he's probably done most of what he can do. I mean, there's not a lot of characters that can survive, you know, 10 years plus. But like I said, I do like the show. Always have liked the show. Remember when it first came out? Remember that people said it wasn't politically correct, or you know, they were exploiting the weaknesses of his OCD and his phobias and all that. And I don't really think that's fair. And I think the series addressed that on more than one occasion. Sometimes for comedy and sometimes for not. You know, he eventually you know, they showed his family, they showed his wife that they didn't show in the first 3 years. They showed, I mean, they basically covered almost his whole life. So that's probably why he doesn't want to do anymore, because they pretty much covered the whole character in 8 years.
Beef Dad. Oh, right. Okay, Beef Dad, over to you.
Oh, magical moments for me. I loved it when he and Sharona were crossing the bridge after it had all been sorted, and he would touch each of the posts as he went past. And she actually turned around and said, "You missed one." So he went back and got it. That made me laugh so much. But the thing was, of course, as I said already, the scene in the sewer where she has been basically she's being held hostage by the guy who killed by the guy who killed the candidate's
Body.
Yes, I'm sorry, I just said it. The candidate's bodyguard. And of course, he climbs down the ladder, realizes he's in the sewer. The look of panic on his face. And of course, he walks past, and someone had flushed a loo, and it whacked into him. That was bad. That was there. And then he found himself against the wall and a rat on his shoulder. And the expression on his face was just absolutely magical. And I must confess, I was hoping that at any point he might bump into the Halliwell sisters, but of course he didn't. Yeah, it's good. It's clever. The way they worked out who had set it all up with Sharona firing a gun and the other candidate who had pointed to where the gunman was on the original assassination attempt or whatever, but it wasn't, it was a murder. And that scene was just so very, very, very clever. It was really cleverly done. And that went on. Yeah, oh, bless me. That went on to under the sewers, into the sewers. But yeah, excellently well worked out. And of course, the other thing, the person that nobody's really mentioned is Ted Levine, who plays the police captain, and he is in it all through the series. I know that, and he always gives a brilliant performance. And the actual connection between him and Adrian Monk is brilliant. It really is very, very good, and they work so well together, the two of them. And that's it.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Ted Levine. The looks he was giving Monk, it's just that the looks say, "Oh, how do you know this? How do you know that? How does he know this? What does he see? What I don't see?" That was just brilliant. But the sewer scene is brilliant. I have to admit. I mean, there's one little thing in the sewer that didn't make me giggle. He tried to rip straight in the sand in the sewer wall. uh, also, the funeral. Oh God, the funeral with his car keys. Oh, you know, that I think this is why there was sort of taking influence from Clouseau. Yeah, it is funny, and it's also well written drama. I love it. I'm really gonna get booked on this program. So yeah, oh yes, Susan, that's it. Let's go to final say and score then, and then shall we go to? Let's go to Susan first, seeing as she's on mic herself.
All right. Well, as far as beginning of a series, it's a really strong beginning. It's got so much, and it does give you a little inertia to watch the next show, obviously. And I think it was great. I was completely sucked in the first episode. So I'll give it a 9.5. And then I dare you to find another one that's as good, that's as capturing as this. It was pretty amazing.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
I'll give this a 9. This was, like I said, I remember when this came out. This was the new version of, or the new rebranding, as they say, a new version of the USA Network. And the tagline was "Characters Welcome," and they had Burn Notice, and they had Psych, and they had other TV shows that had a very interesting perspective. Like Burn Notice was a super spy, but the funny thing is, he played a villain in a Monk episode, and he actually forced Adrian to confront his fears, and he actually confronted Adrian and embarrassed him in one episode as a different character, but they were all connected. They were all on the same network. He had Monk and Burn Notice and Psych, and there was a couple other shows I don't remember after 10 plus years. So they and then they had the woman show in Plain Sight as a woman cop. So basically they had very quirky, very quote unquote different cop shows. I guess they were competing with, NBC and other things. So they had cop shows, but they had sort of quirky characters, and Monk was one of them. As far as the series, yeah, I recommend it. I like it. I haven't really read the books. They had books based on the TV series, and they went into more detail about Stottlemyre and the villain Dale the Whale and other things. As I said, I like the first 4 seasons and then the last season where they sort of tied everything up. And like I said, it was very interesting, and they covered so much of his life. I think there's only like maybe 4% that they didn't cover as far as, his life and his when he was a kid, when he was in high school, when he became a cop, the marriage to his wife, and I think they only left like 4% out. I think they covered everything. Stottlemyre was very good, and the relationship between him and Monk is very good. It's not a perfect relationship. There's a little bit of odd couple in it, but deep down they both care and respect about each other, and toward the, you see as the series goes on, it changes, but it's good. So yeah, it's a good show. I really like it. We bought all of it on DVD. We rewatched it. Still like the show. Again, remember, this was written over the space of 10 years ago or 12 years ago. And this was also when USA was doing a lot of cop shows and detective shows, quirky versions of it. And that's before they joined up with sci-fi and became very, very Americanized and very reality TV show based and all that, which is kind of sad that a lot of American TV now is totally reality show and not really concentrating on doing good writing for good TV shows like they used to.
Well, it's not just American TV. It's in the world. It's all reality TV show these days. Beef Dad, over to you.
A very entertaining, cleverly written, interesting story, and they went on to be entertaining, cleverly written, and brilliantly performed and directed. And for a first ever episode of a series, this is brilliant. I loved it when it came out. I really enjoyed rewatching it. Yeah. Coolies gets a 9.5 from me.
Thanks. It drew me in, and good storytelling, good acting. As I say, this is the only episode I've seen of this show, and making me want to watch more means it's a good thing to me. So I think I'm going to go 9 because, as I say, I've not seen any more episodes. So, but it is a very, very good episode well, I was going to say to start on, but it is the beginning episode, of course. So I will be watching more. And if anybody out there is watching this, from me, I do recommend this show. Just from one episode. I know it's not on anymore. I know it lasted only 8 seasons, but 8 seasons worth of entertainment and drama, you can't go wrong if this one episode from this one episode. So yeah, that's what it gets. It gets in there. So I'd like to thank you guys for sitting down and talking Monk. You out there, if you like it, please leave a comment, or if you want to join in the fun, get in touch, give us a thumbs up. We're all over the place on social media. You'll find us, Geeks Assembled. And go look at our back catalogue. We've got loads and loads of stuff out there, and from different varieties of things, different genres. We're out there. We just enjoy talking about anything. So until next time, we'll be seeing you. Au revoir.